What up is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads. We are actually giving away a free signed jersey of one of the Cornerstone running backs we are going to be talking about today. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and then comment below on your top 4 Dynasty Cornerstone running backs. And so we're going to start off with number 1. I think this is actually probably one of the easiest videos to do. Number 1 is Jonathan Taylor, and he's a guy that I've been talking about constantly last year as my RB2, and now he's just moved up a spot. He was actually my favorite number 1 Cornerstone Dynasty running back of last year, and there was some questions just based off of his slow start to his rookie year. He finished on strong, and now look at 1,811 yards, 18 rushing touchdowns, RB1 in standard, RB1 in PPR, a guy that if you look at that total offense with Carson Wentz or whoever the future quarterback will be, maybe even in 2-3 years, you can see Jonathan Taylor being a top 3 to 5 running back the next 3 years. You're going to see him at 101, 102, kind of in that area for redraft leagues, especially in non-super flex redraft leagues. In Superflex, he's going to be the first running back course taken. He's probably going to be taken in that middle first round. It's going to be that him and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, which we're going to be talking about Cornerstone wide receivers here soon. And then it's going to be some of the quarterbacks ahead of him. Of course, you're going to have Mahomes, Herbert, Josh Allen. Those quarterbacks should be, I believe, ahead of Jonathan Taylor. So the only question is not where Jonathan Taylor is in a running back scheme of things. It's where he is in relationship to other positions, which we can talk about that a little bit more in depth. But number 1 in overall PPR and standard, he even had 40 catches, for 360 yards and 2 touchdowns. Why not, right? Just add that a little bit to him, and he's over 2,000 total yards. Jonathan Taylor also had, 5'10", 226. He has the body built enough, especially you saw in his college of Wisconsin, he was built enough to be able to withstand 20 to 30 touches, it seemed to be every week in Wisconsin, and now the same thing as being a Colt. Easy 101 when it comes to running backs. And what am I selling these running backs for? It's literally everything. It's like the only reason I would be selling Taylor and the other 3 guys on this list would be if I can get something maybe a little less and a bunch of picks added to that, because these guys are nearly untradeable, especially in 1 QB leagues. In Superflex leagues, I'm trading these for the quarterbacks. I'm trading these for it's like, do you want Jonathan Taylor? Or do I want Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase? Well, I probably would, especially if I'm a team that is looking for the long haul, like, hey, I have a team that's not looking to compete maybe this year. I want the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase versus a team that is desperately in need of a Jonathan Taylor. But it's so close. It is so close. In Dynasty rankings, I have them very, very close, all clumped together as well. So number 2 is Nanje Harris, who's actually older than Jonathan Taylor, which I know everyone always talks about Nanje Harris, his age. He's going to be turning 24 on March 9th. It is February 14th. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And so that about a month, he'll be 24 years old, and you'll hear, oh my goodness, he's 24. And then he's not a Cornerstone anymore. No, just kidding. He's still a Cornerstone because he's only had 1 year. He was a rookie. Now he's going to have his second year. And 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, 468 yards, and another touchdown on 94 targets, 74 catches. Dump-off city, you can call it, with Big Ben. There is some concern. Rudolph, is he going to be the starting quarterback at Pittsburgh, or do they go and get somebody like a Jimmy Garoppolo? Or do they draft somebody in the 2022 draft like a Kenny Pickett or somebody along those lines? They need a quarterback desperately in Pittsburgh to fill that spot that Big Ben did. Big Ben didn't do amazing. Honestly, he wasn't elite by any means, and he wasn't even great by any means, but he did really like to dump it off to Nanje Harris, who is a volume monster, and just about to be turning 24. He had an RB standard year of 4 and PPR of 3. I honestly could see him easily repeat that kind of year next year in his 24 season, and then maybe next year we'll probably knock him off the Cornerstone rankings, because then he won't be a Cornerstone anymore, and he turns into more of a, well, I would say Cornerstones are for surely 24 and under. 24.5 and under, because once you start getting older than that, then we start talking about sell. But right now, Najee is a, well, buy if you can, but you're not going to be able to really buy these guys. So this is where we get to give the free jersey, Deandre Swift. It's signed. It's still here in my hands. I do not want that. I want to give it away to one of you guys. When we hit 2K, we'll be giving it away to one of you listeners. And so we're going to be talking about Deandre Swift, and the biggest concern with Deandre Swift is he's been injured, and he hasn't had a year where he's been a top 15 running back. And so he had 151 attempts, 151, which is not that many attempts, and he had 617 yards, 452 in the air, 2 touchdowns in the air, 5, of course, rushing. So 7 touchdowns. just over 1,000 yards, and we PPR 15. So I guess not top 14 year. And then standard, he was 24th. But he's 23 years young. He is, I believe, in my opinion, and I traded Kamara away when Kamara was hot. I traded Kamara and a second away for Deandre Swift because I knew, or I had a feeling that Deandre Swift was going to be into that next year. He is the Aaron Jones. He is the Alvin Kamara, where you don't need 300 touches. You need 170 touches in rushing, and you need 60 receiving. He's going to have the valuable touches. He's going to have the touchdowns. He is going to be that elite points per touch type of player. DeAndre Swift is one of the most talented running backs, especially young running backs, in the entire NFL. He was my favorite running back coming out of Georgia. The only issue that we had coming out of Georgia is he went to the Detroit Lions, where all things good go to die. Ask Matthew Stafford, who just won himself a ring. It's like everything that is valuable there just seems to crumble. But they have fantasy value at times. We talk about Megatron, we talk about Barry Sanders. Those are elite players at their position. Even Amon-Ra St. Brown has been good there the last 6 games, last half season there of 2021 season. DeAndre Swift, I feel like, can be, his biggest concern next year is going to be touchdowns. And it's, can Detroit score? And will it be Goff? And will it be kind of the same kind of people around him? Because DeAndre Swift was on pace for a top 8 season without the injuries that came into effect. And unfortunately, they came in, and all of a sudden, he just started missing some games. Just looking even at the beginning, I mean, he missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Well, basically 6. And some of the games, I'll just go through some rushing. There is some concerns here, but 136, 130, 27, 48, 24, 51, 16, 47, 37, 39. That is not what we call elite yardage, but receiving, 65, 41, 60, 33, 53, 43, 96, 24, and then 5 yards. So when we're looking at just the overall, it's like you could easily see him just being like, okay, baseline, you're probably going to get 80, 90 yards, which every single game you're talking about a 1,500 yard season, which is a really, really good season. And now you're just adding those touchdowns, and you're hoping that he actually stays healthy is the biggest concern, okay? So the last guy. And I don't know how much flack I'll get for this one. This one might be easier to swallow versus the other one when I said he was a top 10 Dynasty overall player on my board. It was Javonte Williams. And again, 17 in PPR, 18 in standard. Melvin Gordon, what are you going to do? They have Denver is going to they got to do something. They need a quarterback. They signed Judy, or they have Judy. They signed Sutton. They signed Tim Patrick. Do they have enough money for Melvin Gordon? And why would they sign Melvin Gordon? I just don't see that being a likely possibility, but it still could be something. They still could sign Melvin Gordon, and this could just, and Javonte Williams would still be Cornerstone 4 over like Akers and Gibson and J.K. Dobbins. I would still have him over there. It would just be a frustrating 2022 season, in my opinion, and you would just be, at times, annoyed because of what he could do. Because look at Week 13 against Kansas City. 23 rushes, 102 yards, 4.43 average. He had 6 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. You're talking about 178 yards and a touchdown against Kansas City's defense, which was doing well at that point, but 178 yards total and a touchdown by himself because there was no Melvin Gordon. We just need more of that. Javonte Williams, and I said this about Jonathan Taylor 12, 14, 15 months ago, whatever. Javonte Williams with no Melvin Gordon could easily be the 101. Like he could be Jonathan Taylor, the second coming of Jonathan Taylor. He could be better than Nanje, better than Swift. He has better upside of that because I mean, you look at him, he's a 3-down running back. He has really good actually hands out of the backfield. And he breaks tackles like a monster. He's hard to come down. He's hard to bring down. He's almost impossible to bring down. So Javonte Williams, who's 21 years old, 21, like you have 2.5 years younger of him compared to Nanje Harris, which makes me want to just keep moving up Javonte all up into the heavens there, all the way up. Like I just want to keep moving him up. And it's like, if you told me like, hey, Nanje or Javonte, you're building a team around them, I'm like, gosh, I'm going to put Nanje ahead right now. But gosh, if Melvin Gordon wasn't there, and I have a feeling this is going to happen. Melvin Gordon's going to leave, and you're going to see Javonte Williams be a top 7 overall dynasty pick. And it's going to, especially in 1 QB, he's going to be a end of round 1 in a super flex or beginning of round 2. And people are going to have a hard time swallowing it. And I think that is going to be probably a good spot for him to go. He could easily jump Swift, Nanje. Like there's teams I have Swift and I have Nanje. And I'm like, and there's saying like, I'm like, okay, well, I kind of like Javonte just as much as those 2 players. And it may be the hype is taking over. And you know what, Javonte, he could come out of sophomore year and he could have a really down season. He, again, kind of risky. But the more I keep talking about him, the more I love him. And so that could be a problem that I have. I chose Javonte over Jamar Chase when I had a dynasty rookie draft. I was staring both of them right at me, and I had Javonte or Jamar Chase, and I actually chose Javonte Williams. I was a running back team needy team, and I thought that I always take best player available, and I thought they were super close in fantasy value per se, and I needed that running back more, so I took Javonte, and I'm still not regretting it. I loved how Jamar Chase has done, but Javonte could be that next 3-down running back, the Maurice Jones-Drew type, the Ray Rice type, that 3-down running back that is a top 5 dynasty running back the next 5. He could be the next Jonathan Taylor is what I am thinking. Is where I'm seeing that being projected. And that's why Jonathan Taylor just kept moving up the boards for me. And all of a sudden I was like, whoa, he's RB2, 102 in 1 QB. And I was like, do I have him too high? And then the first couple games came out. Let's go back to that just real briefly. The first couple games came out and he had 56 yards, 51 yards, 64 yards, no touchdowns. And I was like, I may have overestimated my beliefs in Jonathan Taylor. And then he proceeded to do 103, 53, 145, 107, and then he had 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 2 touchdowns. That's almost like a game, and then 1, 0, 1. And he finished off the season with 1,800 total rushing yards. So that happened. Again, this is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads. These are my Dynasty Cornerstone rankings. My top 4. What are your top 4 running backs? All right, peace out. We'll see you soon. Have a good Valentine's Day.